Next, we'll modify the positioning of our battery. So to get a good look at it, let's remove that Circuit Playground board and we'll go to a top view. The issue we're having here is that the battery is just too close to the battery charger, so that when we plug in our battery connector, it will actually interfere with this battery. To get a better look at that, let's take a look at the side view. Notice the height of the battery compared to our port for the connector. So you can clearly see there how that would be an issue. Okay, to solve this, we're going to just move the battery a little bit to the left. And to do that, we're going to need to modify this extruded block here. So let's jump into that sketch by right-clicking on the side of this block and going to Edit Profile Sketch. That's going to bring us to that sketch, and we're going to remove all the components we don't need here. And let's expand sketches, and we'll just toggle all the sketches that are useful to us. So I'm going to go through each one of these and just keep the ones that I will need. So I'm going to need to see that. I don't need to see that. Sketch 3, no. Sketch 2, yes, that'll be useful. And we'll do sketch 1. Okay, now that I have all my reference sketches in view, the first thing I'll do is delete this constraint here. So this is what's locking this rectangular shape in place right here. So we'll take that and delete it, and that makes it free to be moved around. And let's dimension it instead from this edge. That would be more useful than the actual center point. So we'll click on that edge and click on the center point and see what that's given us. That says it's 21.2. Let's push it out about a millimeter or so. So I'm actually going to do 22.5 millimeters, and that's going to bring it over. The next thing is this thickness is actually a little more thick than we need. So we'll double click on that 5 and change that to 2 millimeters. I think we can get away with a 2 millimeter width extrusion. So we'll hit enter. Okay, now we can create some constraints on this side. So before, remember that it was the battery charger that was constraining the battery on this side. Since we're moving it over a little bit, we'll have to make some new constraints there. So what we'll do is we'll just draw a rectangle here. So R for rectangle. I'm just going to position it here for now. I'm going to make it 5 millimeters in height by 2 in width. Hit enter. We'll zoom out. And if you recall, our battery width was 29 millimeters. So I'm going to hit D for dimension and just dimension this rectangle from this rectangle and make that just a little bit bigger at 29.5. Hit enter. And now I'm going to hit escape, and I can position this. I can double click it and just bring it down a bit. And we'll hit escape again to deselect. D for dimension, and I'll just dimension this top side from our origin, and we'll make that 12 millimeters. That looks good. Okay, now we can mirror this rectangle on this side. So to do that, I'll hit escape, click L for a mirror line. I'm just going to draw on the side here. Click the check mark. I'm going to hit escape, take this line, hit X to make it a construction line, then grab my horizontal constraint, click on this edge and constrain it to our center point. And now I can use that to mirror this rectangle. So I'll hit escape, go to sketch, down to mirror. I get this dialog box. My objects is going to be this rectangle. So I'm going to double click to select all 4 sides. My mirror line is going to be the mirror line we created, and then I'll click OK. Alright, so we narrowed this extrusion here and we pushed it back a little bit, and we set this at 29.5 millimeters, which is less than we had before. Before we had a little over 30, I believe, as the distance between the battery charger and our constraint on this side. So that should be enough to give us enough room here between our battery and our battery charger. So we'll click on Stop Sketch. We'll need to bring back our body. We can reduce the sketches folder here, collapse it, and let's bring back our components. So I'll just bring back everything here except the Circuit Playground. And so we see where our battery is. So now we know we have room to move it over, since this is our new constraint here on the left side. We are going to need to extrude the other constraint blocks. So let's bring back that sketch, remove battery, and we'll hit E for extrude, and I'm going to select these 2 profiles, and we'll bring these up 4 millimeters to match the other one, which I believe that was the distance. We can check by just clicking on this edge. And yes, that's 4 millimeters. So now let's take a look at that battery. We'll bring it into view. And let's go to a top view, remove sketches. And let's move that battery by right-clicking on the battery component under our browser and going to move. And now we can move that over, just manually drag it over. And we just want to see that it's between these two sets of blocks. And we have enough wiggle room, it looks, in there. So I'm going to click OK. And that should be just enough room there to get that plug in there and give us some room in there for that connector to be unobstructed. Again, we can confirm our dimensions by removing the battery, going to inspect, and we'll inspect the distance between this block and this block, and that should be 29.5. So we're good there. Next, we'll apply some fillets to these extruded blocks. First, we'll fillet it so that it matches the rounded shape of this one. So we'll do F for fillet and select each one of these vertical edges. We'll do the same thing with the mirrored one here on this side. And remember, if you accidentally select an edge, you can just select it again to deselect it. We're going to enter 1 for our radius and click OK. And then we're going to do that again, but this time to the base, because this is only 2 millimeters wide. And so we're going to give it a little fillet to be able to strengthen it, give it a little more strength so they don't snap off as easily. So again, F for fillet, and this time we'll just select once to select each of these bases. So we'll select all 3 of them, 1 millimeter fillet, and we'll click OK. And that looks good. Let's go to a top view and bring that battery back in view. The left and right barriers look good. However, there is a problem with the ones to the bottom and the top, which are our platforms for our circuit playground. And you can see there. So let's address that in the next video.